We're here during our Photofest, the virtual edition. This is our 11th year hosting Photofest. And since we've had this pandemic going on, we made the choice to take it online this year, which is great for you guys because instead of just a weekend of content, you get 8 days of content. So that's really awesome. Today is our 4th day. We have actually 3 sessions today, and we're starting things off with Chris Fain of Profoto. The topic is going to be high and low key lighting, and Chris has set up a little mini studio in his space, and he's going to do some live demo. What I would love from you guys is, as you're watching, if you have questions, post those questions on the YouTube chat or on the Facebook comments, and we're going to ask as many of those as possible during the session. So don't be shy, ask your questions, and we're going to do our best to get those answered. And right now, I'm going to kick it over to you, Chris. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your background in photography and your role at Profoto?
Yeah, awesome. My name is Chris Fain. I am the evangelist for Profoto USA. What that means is I just get to do cool stuff and talk to people, hang out, shoot stuff, and kind of just make sure that, people really understand what we're trying to do at Profoto. So before Profoto, was doing commercial and editorial portraiture. Also, when I lived in New York City, I was also doing a lot of headshots and stuff. I worked in the studio with Peter Hurley for a bunch of years, and then life moves on. I left New York City. I'm back home in Atlanta, Georgia, and still shooting, but doing a lot of stuff with Profoto. So we do a lot of I help do a lot of education, kind of teaching people about lighting techniques or just about the light themselves and how to use them. So if anybody winds up having any questions about anything in the Profoto world, obviously, we're going to be focusing more on high and low key lighting. But if you have any other little questions that you want to ask, shoot them over. I'll be more than happy to answer anything if you have it. So, but like I said, we're going to be talking about high and low key lighting today. They are just kind of 2 lighting techniques that can help evoke certain emotions. So we're going to start everything out with a low key light today. So your low key light is going to be darker, a lot more emphasis on contrast and shadows. So I have just kind of one of my old big, huge pieces of seamless, that's all wrinkly and stuff. I've had it for a while. I probably need to get a fresh one. But we're doing all this in my basement too. So we're making it happen. So, but a lower key style photography is going to have, once again, way more emphasis on shadow, contrast. It's really, really moody. It can invoke a sense of drama or, maybe suspense, a little fear, possibly, depending on how exactly you light it. One of the things that you're going to find too is because you're trying to emphasize shadows, you're going to try to keep the light on your subject a little more off to the side and not so much directly in front. And that's going to, once again, start to open up, or not really open up. It's going to start to bring those shadows into the shot, and it's going to start really kind of giving you that contrast between light and dark. One of the things that you're going to want to try to think about adding into something like that is also going to be like a hair light. Like I'm going to use, I have one of the new OCF2 grids right over here that I'm going to put on another one of the B10 flash heads. And so what's going to happen is we're going to use like a little bit of a hair light. That way we can get some separation from the background. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. You don't have to do it as far as the hair light goes. You could actually take the light and flip it around towards the back and just add a touch of color to it, or just a touch of light to it. Once again, just to get that separation, because low-key lighting is so kind of dark and moody, once again, with those emphasis on shadows. If you don't have something there for separation, your subject can generally tend to kind of fade into the background. And I mean, maybe that's the look that you're going for. I don't necessarily want to say that there's a right and a wrong way of doing anything. I think knowing the rules and then breaking them is kind of the key to, I think, what makes a photographer's style their style. So, but once again, for the most part, you're going to see most people adding in some sort of a second light in order to separate them from the background. And then we'll get into, we're actually going to shoot some low-key stuff first. We're going to kind of build it a little bit so you can see it. And then we'll move over to more of a high-key look. That way you can see the difference between the two, and we'll explain why you want to do high-key stuff. So we're going to do it with 2 lights. I've got a B10 on this big roller stand right here. So, and we're going to, when I bring Kate in here in just a second, not Kate Haley, because we're on the other side of the country from one another, but my wife Kate, who's also going to model for us for it. We will be. I'm going to light her with this B10 with a 2-foot octa on it, and then I'm going to use another B10 plus with a grid on it to separate it from the background. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with just one light. That way you can kind of see that fade into the background that we're talking about. I have my camera set up. So for people who love to know, like, what camera you use and what settings are we rocking, I shoot with the Fuji X-T3. So I'm shooting with the Fuji X-T3 right here. We are at f8 on our f-stop. So I almost said f8 for my ISO, but I'm a dummy, so it's going to happen. My ISO is 160, and my shutter speed is 1/250th of a second. So that should be able to get, hopefully, my video lights out of this altogether, so it's not corrupting the scene. If it is, I'll bring them down so it's not an issue. But hopefully we can try to keep them up in case I need to flip back over and you need to see this mug. So once again, we're going to start with the Profoto B10 and a 2-foot octa. What we're going to do to try to make sure that we're maintaining some of the moodiness of the shot is we're going to try to keep that, and you should be doing this with your soft goods anyway, but we're going to be keeping that softbox as close to the subject as we can. One, because it's going to maintain softness, but two, because if you know anything about the inverse square law, and this is kind of my cheap, Chris is a dummy version way of explaining it because I'm a dummy, it works for me. The closer the light is to your subject, the faster it's going to get darker on the other side of the subject. So if you can get your light in really, really tight, just out of frame, that light is going to fall off very, very quickly. Once again, helping us with that dark, moody, bringing out some more of that shadow and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to keep that 2-foot octa as close as possible. And that way, once again, it'll help us keep those shadows nice and dark. It'll keep most of the light. It should keep pretty much all the light off the background, especially since I'm using something a little bit smaller. So 2-foot octa, really, really close. That's what we're going to do for the first shot. So let me get Kate in here, and we are going to rock and roll. So ready to do this, Kate? Yeah. Cool. So hopefully everybody's having an awesome day. Out here on the East Coast, we are rolling about 3 p.m. So, you know, it's almost dinner time. And if you have any idea what I look like, I like to eat. That's why I wear all black. It hides my insecurities. So let's make sure on the camera that we are not seeing the background. There we go. Perfect. So with my exposure preview, I do not see anything on the background. So that should help us go nice and dark. So if you don't mind hopping in here, Kate. So for everyone seeing Kate come in here, say hi to Kate. I know I can't see you, she can't hear you, I can't hear you, but I imagine that you're all saying, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Hi, Kate.
Hope all's well.
I can at least talk to Chris and say hi, Kate.
All 50 people watching are saying hi to Kate.
Oh my gosh.
Cool, so I've got my light in here. So come forward just a little bit, Kate. I'm gonna try to keep you away from the background. So, and then I know my camera's all tilty. Let me get there we go. Come up a little bit because I don't want that background kind of cutting into Kate's head. So for the most part, I'm gonna stay in with like a half kind of body length, 3/4 shot-ish, just to kind of maintain the background. So let's get that here. And I'm going to, so connected up to the top of my camera is what I'm using to trigger my lights is a Profoto Connect. It's our kind of like little buttonless trigger. I don't know if you can see. Are they looking at the wide shot, Caitlin? Or are they just looking at my screen?
Let me check.
Sorry. Just to make sure. I just want you guys to kind of see light placement before we go to the screen.
Yeah, it's the wide shot.
Yeah, go to camera 2 really fast. I want them to see light placement before we take a shot, and then I'll go over there and I'll flip over to the Cool. So, is that working?
Yeah.
Sweet. So hopefully we can see all this goodness. So, do I need to flip back over to the computer screen here in just a second, or is...
There's a little icon in the side.
Oh, gotcha. Right on. So come forward. So looking at the back of my camera screen, I have Caitlin just right there's perfect. Turn this way a little bit. There we go. Shoulder There we go. So I've got Caitlin just in my frame. I'm going to look at my softbox and I'm going to pull it just out of frame. So if you can see kind of placement wise, I'm going up a little bit. So this should illuminate Caitlin pretty well right here on the side. And then because this light is probably what, 2 feet away from her face, hopefully it's going to fade off really, really fast. And because we're shooting it more of an angle and not towards the background, it shouldn't infiltrate anything in the background. So we should be able to keep the background nice and dark. We should be able to have some shadow here on the side of Caitlin's face, which she likes being moody anyway. So I'll pay for that one later. So here we go. Let's rock and roll. So I'm going to take what's called in what I call in the Profoto world. This is the thing that Caitlin hates the most out of anything that I do in any demoing. So I'm going to take a skin tone shot. So in the Profoto world, what you can do is you can pop your trigger into TTL mode. And what you can do is you can zoom into the person's face. She generally makes the best faces for this. Oh, hold on. Let's make sure we're talking. I turn my light on. Oh, yep, I turn my light off. There we go. Let's go on TTL. On the Connect.
Super close up.
Actually, you know what? I would use the Connect, guys, but apparently I killed it earlier today. So we're just going to go to the TTL remote.
Oh, no.
But we can talk about the Connect later if you want to. So we're TTL. Let's go here. Skin tone shot. Make sure we're on the same channel. We're talking. Oh, that would be bad. I had my other light on. Let me make sure I don't have my other. Oh, yeah. I have all my lights on like a maniac.
Yes, they are all on.
That would have been terrible.
I guess
that
I
would have
could
been the
have
best
cued you to
first
that.
shot ever. All right, here we go. So what we can do for a skin tone shot. Those always work out fantastic. So what you'll see is the TTL skin tone shot is perfect. So what I can do now is I can flip into manual mode and I'm locked into place. Like I'm metered up. So now if I just take a photo of Caitlin, there we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Oh, I kind of chin down just a skosh for me. There we go. There we go. Really, really moody. I could probably actually bring that exposure up a little bit more just to give me a little bit more if I wanted to, but I'm relatively happy with it. Let me bring it up just a touch. But like I said, what can happen from here is, and let me zoom out a touch more so you can kind of see her fade into the background, especially since she's wearing a black dress. 3, 2, 1. So here we go. So with something like this, she's really, really going to start to fade in the background. You're going to start to lose her arm, detail on her arm. There's a little bit of light coming from, oh, you know what? The computer is really tiny, isn't it? Let me flip this over. So let's go.
It is a little bit, yeah. There
Boom,
we go.
Here we go.
I like that a lot,
Sweet.
though. That's fantastic.
So I know the switcher makes this a little even contrastier than it actually is. It's not that contrasty. In fact, it is contrasty, but not as much as what you see. But what is happening here is you're going to see that she starts to kind of fade away. A little bit of the hand there that you can see, a little bit of the arm there. That right there, if that's the look that you're going for, awesome. Like that could be a cool look. But if that's not necessarily what you're going for, what you're going to want to start to maybe do is add in a second light source. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring in a B10 plus. So let's get you guys out here. Sweet. So what I'm going to do is bring in a second light, which is a B10 plus on a light stand because they don't hover. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put a grid on there. So we have these new OCF grids, which are kind of sick. Honestly, I like them a lot. So the holder just pops right on the front of the flash head itself, holds on pretty tight. And then the grids are just magnetized. So if you mess with anything in like our A1 lineup, they just kind of pop into place. So the neat thing about that is you're going to be able to stack them. So if I wanted to throw a gel on there and a grid, I could do it. Just depends on how you want to light it up. So jump back in your place real fast. I'm going to throw this light on and just kind of see where my continuous lamp is hitting her. So once again, the point of this light is just to keep her from fading into the background. I don't necessarily, it could be cool to have everything kind of fade to black, but I'd like to see a little more of the contour of Caitlin. So let's go in here. I'm gonna take another TTL shot. That way this light can get in the game. So we're gonna be skin tone shotting a lot. So you guys are welcome. There you go. That one's awesome. It's so good. It's so good. I do Facebook Lives every week at Profoto, so if you've ever seen any of these things before, like, you know the shenanigans. If not, this is what we do at Profoto all the time. It's not good news. We enjoy ourselves, though.
Well, I mean, that first shot looked fantastic even before you added another light into it. So
yeah, I thought it was pretty cool too. It's just one of those things where you having the separation's nice. And granted, this isn't going to be a huge separation. What I'd really probably use for myself, and I think I actually broke it down, so I'm not going to try to get it out. But I would probably use more of a strip box.
Okay.
And this, I didn't actually.
Yeah, can we see the shot? Yeah, let's see the shot.
I'm gonna die.
There
I'm gonna die on my way over. So this is just with a simple 30-degree grid added in. So what it's gonna do is now you're getting a little separation here on the arm, so you can see a little bit more information there, a little bit of separation on the hair. So it's still got that mood to it. It's still really contrasty. But you could build on this a little bit more if you wanted to. You could add in a little bit more of a fill light or a reflector if you wanted to bring the shadows up a touch. You don't necessarily want to do that because, once again, the point of this is to keep the shadows kind of dark and moody. What I might do is I might actually, in order to get a little more information going on, I might ditch the grid. So let's ditch the grid and see kind of where we are. So everything should be set as far as power goes. Pretty happy with everything. Thank goodness for my jerk stopper because it just stepped on my tether cable. So here we go, sans grid.
Don't break anything, Chris, okay?
I can't make you any promises that I won't break anything. I'll probably break my neck. So let's see. So likewise, it probably didn't open it up as much as I'd like to. And I could, once again, add a bigger modifier. For me, whenever I do my low-key stuff, I really, really like using a strip box just because it's going to give me, I think I still got my screen up, don't I?
Well, we're seeing the set right now, yeah.
One thing that I like about strip boxes is because they're a larger modifier, and you can go, depending on the size that you want, like a 1.3 or a 1.4 or 1.6, depending on the human that you're photographing. She's really short, so I could probably get away with like a 1.2.
Oh man, you're in trouble for so much today, man.
I figure if I'm gonna be in trouble, I might as well just be in deep trouble.
Yeah, you're just digging deeper.
No, but honestly, for Kate, I would probably use a 1x4. That's gonna cover most of her body. So 1x4, give it a nice highlight down the edge. But what's nice about the softbox, at least in Profoto world, is they're recessed front. So there's an edge to the softbox that's going to once again kind of help keep that light off the background. I think I have it broken down.
Hey, Chris. So can you...
I do have it broken down. So
hey, Chris.
Really, really simple stuff. Once again, low-key lighting. You can jump out for just a second. I'll bring you back in here in just a second.
Chris.
Hey, Chris.
So low-key lighting.
Real Chris.
Just about keeping your shadows present in the shot. High key lighting is a whole other beast in and of itself. So high key lighting is going to invoke more of a sense of, oh, actually, I moved into high key lighting. Kate, does anybody have any questions about low key lighting?
Yeah.
Great timing.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So could you talk a little bit about adjusting the light? So I think you used TTL and you just kind of went with what was happening. But could you talk about how you might build it up or make it even darker? I know you use the grid, so the grid gave you some direction, and it also kind of pared that light down a little bit. But without the grid, can you talk about how you would make those adjustments either through the remote or even through the light itself? So a couple of people are curious.
Yeah, so the air remote, for example, has your plus or minus buttons on the top of it. So what's cool about it, so when we developed our TTL system, just so you kind of understand what I was doing when I took that really tight, goofy skin tone shot. So all TTL is trying to do is make everything 18% gray. That's the only thing that it cares about. It doesn't care if you're a centipede or a human or a space alien. It doesn't care. So what happens is if you are like me, once again, where I'm, relatively fair skinned, I've been out in the sun a little bit. It's getting hot down here in the South, but I'm relatively fair skinned, but I wear a lot of black. So what's going to happen is when you try to take a TTL shot of me, it's going to see a lot of black and not too much skin tone. And it's just going to try to explode and make this black 18% gray. The problem is is that it's going to take my skin tone and it's going to blow it out. So what we do is I zoom all the way into the person's face. What that does is it eliminates any extra information. So I try to keep it, if you saw the shot, I know that Caitlin's not going to be super happy with me doing this. Granted, there's a little more. That was my first view of that. So what we're trying to do is keep, for the most part, anything that could kind of taint that skin tone that I want to expose for out of the shot. And then we take that shot in a TTL mode, and that way the light sets itself automatically, and it's and your camera's saying, hey, light, this is what I want you to expose for, 18% gray. And in the Profoto world, honestly, 99.9% of the time, it nails it, like right off the jump. And then all I did from there is I flipped from TTL to manual mode, and in the Profoto world, that locks our light into place. So essentially, I just use the light meter inside my camera as a light meter, as opposed to using my actual handheld light meter. It's just a really, really quick way of kind of setting your camera settings to what you want, taking that skin tone shot, and you're rocking and rolling. From there, I was pretty happy with my skin tone. For me, it was a touch darker than I wanted. So all I do is simply, I have my light setting groups for today. So I know that I have my main light set to group A. I always set my main light to group A. I always set my kicker or my fill light to group B. And I don't really have a fill light, so this is going to be more of my kicker. So my group B there. And then I'll do like background light, hair lights or something like that as a group C. And that's what that is over there. So my group A, I wanted a little more juice. So I just simply clicked A and went bop, 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 and came up about a half a stop on my light. And that gave me the exposure that I was visually looking for. And then for when I did this, the TTL is going to set both of these automatically. I was pretty happy with my rim light. I could probably honestly bring it up a little bit more. I just wanted it for some separation, but it kind of just set with the TTL setting. I didn't try to ratio it by anything. So like what you could do if you wanted is I could say, hey, whatever this light is doing on A, I would love for you to make it one stop. I would like it to be one stop brighter or one stop lower. And you could simply just go into your TTL settings, hit group B and make that adjustment. And then when you take that skin tone shot, what it's going to do is it's going to set this light to that adjustment that you made based off of what light A is going to do. So I don't know if that necessarily answered the way that I was making the adjustments. Hopefully it did, but that's how I work. So if I want to make that adjustment, I'll just go A, B, fix my TTL shot up, and then lock that sucker down in manual mode. So
right. And then for fun,
was that pretty good?
Yeah, that was totally helpful. And then for fun, you could throw a gel on that light too and add a little color.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So that's a thing that 100%. I would do.
Like, yeah. I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit with a lot of this stuff. It doesn't matter. Once again, there are rules, but all the rules, especially in photography, are made to be broken. The people who do amazing stuff, they kind of know where to start, and then they're like, all right, sweet. So let's just like flip this around and do this way. And you sometimes get terrible results, and then sometimes you get amazing results. So it's really just kind of one of those things of like knowing your baseline and then building on it. So, maybe I started with that right there. And like you were saying, Kate, maybe like a CTO gel to warm that up with the light coming through would be killer. Like whenever I do photos where I mimic like a sunset, all the time. Like I'll do a warm kicker to be my fake sun, and then I'll bring I'll warm up my actual camera Kelvin temperature setting and kind of get everything more of a warm tone. So yeah, you can have all kinds of fun with all kinds of things. So
that's
any
great.
other low key questions before I move my booty over to high key?
Move on. It's good.
Sweet. So high key lighting is literally the polar opposite. So what you're trying to do in high key lighting is minimize the shadows as much as possible. It's supposed to be light, airy, kind of happy, fun. You really are going to try to flood the scene with light. And so one of the things that you're going to want to do, so your key light, where we're talking about with low key lighting, where it's more off to the side, with a high key light, you're going to want to try to get that sucker like right overhead. So more of like a butterfly light style of shot. And if you don't know anything about butterfly light, what it does is when you have the light directly in front of you and up, it'll make this little shadow up under the nose that looks like a butterfly flying towards you. So it's not I'm a dummy, and for the longest time when I heard butterfly light, I was like like a butterfly? Like, is this pattern on your face somewhere? And finally someone explained it to me, and I was like, I'm stupid. But that's what butterfly light is. It's a light directly overhead, just above, just to create that little shadow underneath. So you're trying to bring that light straight on to minimize those shadows. You're also going to take another light or two and flood the background with it. And that's going to make sure that you keep that light nice and low. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of this gray background because, once again, it doesn't do what I need it to. I need light and airy. So let's go to my white backdrop. I know that this is super loud. I apologize. Sweet. So we have a white background. I'm going to turn my lights on C. I'm going to turn this light on right here on B, and I'm going to take the OCF holder off of it because I don't really need it for this. The B, all of our flat front lights, so the B1s, the D2s, the D1s, the B10s, they all have reflectors built into the front of them. So you could actually take this light right out of the box, put it in front of your subject, and the quality of light coming out of this thing's beautiful. So all we're going to do for this is we're going to utilize the reflector that's built into this and the diffusion glass that's on the front of it. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to take a light meter this time, and I'm going to meter this background because you want it to go white. So I'm going to take my air remote off. That way I'm not having to schlep my camera. And so what we're going to do, since I'm shooting, where did I set my meter down somewhere. I'm such a dum-dum. I might actually have to do this manual because I don't know where I set this thing down. Oh, I set it over there. Gotcha. I couldn't remember if I left it in the toolbox or not. Sweet. So I got a light meter, little Sekonic jammer. What we're going to do is I'm going to point the light meter at the background, or I'm going to point the light meter here towards the background, try to get 5.6 on both of them. That way when they come together, they'll be F8. And that way we will be in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn group A. From the air remote, I can turn group A off. I can turn group C off. So now I'm only triggering group B. So 250, ISO 160. So I'm at F4, so let's go group B, and we'll go up just a little bit. Just a little bit more. Oh. Okay, so let's do this really fast. So. Stop fighting me.
So for you guys tuning in, if you have any
questions. Am I actually adjusting? Sorry. Oh,
that's okay.
Sorry, sometimes I'm a dummy. I was in TTL mode, so it wasn't actually making adjustments. Sorry, I apologize. Go ahead, Kate. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just letting the people know why you were doing that test. If they have questions, keep those coming in while you're getting the second setup sorted out.
Yeah, so once again, like I said, I was in TTL mode. So when you go to try to make an actual adjustment to the light, it's not doing anything because what it's trying to do is ratio, and there's nothing to ratio. So I was trying to make a ratio adjustment and not an actual light adjustment. So here we go. 5.6. So let's bring that down. Sweet. So together with their powers combined, they should be F8, roughly F8. So let's see. Let's turn the head on. Yep, we're right there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to meter for Kate too, because I don't want the TTL to override me on this. But what we're going to do is I've got this light on a boom. What we're going to do is we're going to boom it down and out, pop. And that way I can shoot underneath it, because once again, I want this thing to be right on, directly pointed at Kate's face. That's going to make sure that it fills in any shadows. We're going to lift it up just a little bit. I know that this bar might be in y'all's way. I apologize. It's just what we're going to have to do.
It's not.
Okay, sweet. It's not in your way, guys. Get over it. So.
So much sass.
I'm an idiot.
No.
I apologize to anybody who decided to come and hang out with me today. I do not endorse any of my actions or any of the things that come out of my mouth. So,
well, do give kudos to your basement studio. It's a pretty sweet setup.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's my wife would disagree that it's a pretty sweet setup because she's like, "Give me my basement back." But luckily for me, she doesn't actually. For me, she doesn't actually sound like a dinosaur like that. I just, once again.
Oh, I can.
Oh, I can't. And she will later. I'll hear about it. Come forward for me, honey. And I called her honey because she's my wife, guys. I'm not one of those creepy dudes, those creepy photographer dudes. Come forward just a touch more. There we go. I promise. Mm-hmm. So let's go. We need to kill B and C. Actually, no, we don't. We can keep them all on. They're not gonna affect it that much. So head on for group A. I want to get F8. So let's go one stop up. Cool. Let's kind of see where we're at. We should be living. I almost didn't put the trigger back on top of my camera. I'm so good. All right, here we go. So this is what we're trying to achieve here now with Caitlin. So actually, 3, 2, 1. So this is more of gonna be more of your high key. I can bring that background up a little bit more, which I probably will do. I could also let me get you guys over to the.
Yeah, they're very small picture.
Yeah, let me get you guys over here. Sweet. So your higher key light is going to have a lighter background. I could bring that up probably a touch more. It probably honestly needs it. But what you're trying to do is you're just trying to minimize shadows. There's still kind of too much shadow here underneath Caitlin's chin. So I'm actually going to bring everything up together. So I'm going to deselect all my groups on my air remote. I'm going to bring everything up together. So my overall exposure is a little bit brighter. And what you could also do to knock some of this stuff down is you could throw a reflector underneath, which I could grab my reflector and throw it underneath. So let's see where we're at right here, Kate. 3, 2, 1. So here we go. We're starting to minimize some of the shadows. Let me back up a little bit. See if I can. There we go. That's probably more like what I want. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So here is a solid high key shot. Once again, it's not as contrasty for me. My switcher just making it a little more contrasty, but really, really clean white background. It's got a little bit of a gradation down here to the bottom. I could aim the lights down and kind of clean that up some more. And there's probably a touch more shadow under her chin that I'd want, but still a really, really, really easy look to achieve. I just metered my lights on the background just to make sure. Here, let me flip you guys back over. I just metered my lights on the background just to make sure that you were getting, a pretty even cast on the actual background itself. So we have the 2 lights hitting here, giving me F8 on the background. And then I metered from my main light F8 on Caitlin. So everything overall is right where I want it to be. And then, like I said, just for personal taste, you can make adjustments up or down. So that right there is pretty solid. One thing that I might try just for funsies is grabbing my reflector.
Yeah, and filling in under the chin a little.
Sorry. It's.
You put it away?
Yeah, I put my stuff away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, shut up. Cool. So here we go. Reflector-wise, I'm going to try to hand-hold this bad boy. So what the reflector is going to do is it's going to try to clean up some more of those shadows underneath. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. So, boom. Go back to the. Yeah, let's go back to the laptop. So with the reflector underneath, it's going to start to dampen down some of those shadows right there, and you're going to be able to get more of that high key look that you're going for. Now, before we get done for the day, because I know my time is probably getting close to waning, there are some people who may not have 3 lights.
Right.
That's entirely possible, especially if you've ever talked to me about stuff. Because actually, before I move on to this real fast, Kate, does anybody have any questions about this?
Well, could you show us, just kind of quick, show us the before shot without the reflector, and then show us the next one with the reflector?
Oh yeah.
Just kind of quick to see that.
Let me get you
more quickly.
So I'm gonna zoom into this one just so it's the crop similar.
Yeah, just so that people can really get a good sense of what's happening. And you could also add the silver in, and those shadows would get filled even more if you went for the silver. Did you use the white? I think you used the white, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
On my reflector, like if you wanted it to pop a little bit more on the reflector, you could have gone silver side. My reflector that I grabbed was our sun silver one, and I didn't really want that gold tint to pop in there, so I went with the white side. Yeah. But if you really want to start to kind of like knock those knock those shadows out, silver would really, really do it. You could also throw a fourth light underneath, and you could actually just use it more with 2 lights here and then 2 lights in the background.
Yeah, I know for me, when it comes to adding that fill in, I go with the white side first and then go to silver if I feel like I'm just not getting enough. One person...
Yeah, I generally... And I think it's one of those personal preference things too, because a lot of times, and granted, I'm using a 2-foot octa overhead. It's really, really diffused out. But generally, whenever I'm doing something like this, I put a silver beauty dish on. So I kind of do white as my reflector on the bottom, then go. So I was staring at my modifier and talking to it as I was having a conversation with you. But I generally go silver up top and white down below, because it still kind of gives you that silver punch.
Yeah.
But then starts to fill that stuff in.
Yeah. So just one quick question, since, a lot of people create these home studios. I know I do sessions in my living room. I only have 8-foot ceilings, which presents its own challenges. What do you have there, about 10 feet?
Oh, no. I've measured these before. These are 7'11".
Okay. So you're in the same situation I'm in. That's pretty... But what that is cool, though, is that shows you that if you have a nook in your home or in your garage, you can do a pretty cool setup. But it sounds like
you really can. And I'm fighting with, honestly, too, like I said, I'm in my basement. Like right here, it's like a drain line, like water lines. Like my video lights are jammed right up against like water lines and stuff like that. But you can make it happen. It's just, it's about managing it. Like I drill, like to give myself some more space to do things, once again, because I'm doing live things with my photography stuff, just to keep stands off. Like you can do simple things like mount your lights up if you want to, and that can get your stands away. So there's lots of ways you can work with stuff. I have a good buddy named Clay Cook, who he and I were having dinner one time, and I was just complaining once again about that. I had just moved into this house, and I was like, man, it just sucks, because like I try to pop a big modifier up really, really high, and I just don't have any room to do it. He's like, look at like my early portfolio. He's like, everything I did was sitting down. He's like, I did it in my living room. And I was like, sometimes it's just thinking about things a different way, and then you can really start to appreciate what you can and can't do, and then build your portfolio doing one thing until it snowballs into something else, and then you have a bigger space.
Yeah, well, changing the perspective totally helps. So
100%.
We have just about 5 or so minutes. So you were going to talk about what happens if you don't have 3 lights?
Yeah, so let's talk about how to do this really, really quickly without 3 lights. So let's say you only have 1 light and you want to try to get more of a high key look. What we can do once again is use that inverse square law to try and get a really, really even coverage as far as our output goes, but with 1 flash. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move these B10s out of the way. I'm going to shut them down. We should be able to do this relatively quick. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your subject as close to the background as you can get them. So the closer, the better. And you're still going to want to keep the light directly ahead, but we're going to move from using a softbox, and we're going to move to the Ocf Magnum Reflector. So it's this tiny little Magnum Reflector. What's kind of dope about it is it gives you 2 stops more light output, which is pretty neat. So I just kind of flashed it. So it's this little tiny reflector. So what we're going to do is I'm going to mount that to the flash head, clamp it down, and what we're going to do is we're going to back it up. So the further that we can get this light away from the subject, once again, using the inverse square law, the further the light is away from the subject, the longer it's going to fall off. So if we can keep this light far enough away, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to light the subject and the background evenly with 1 light. So this isn't necessarily true high key lighting unless you can kind of keep that light low enough and straight on enough to minimize those shadows, but we're going to give it a whirl. I've done it before, and it's kind of neat. So Kate, if I could get you over here. Thanks, babe. So I'm like hustling now, and I'm starting to get winded. I'm not gonna have to work out today. I'm gonna have to work out today. Oh, we're wrapped around the HDMI cable. There we go. So once again, I'm gonna do my skin tone shot. So just make sure that ooh, that's bright. So skin tone shot up close. I apologize for the skin tone shot, Caitlin. Please forgive me. So it actually looks maybe no, it's pretty good.
They don't have it on the screen.
Oh, they don't? All right. So I'm going to take the shot then. That way you don't have to see that up close and personal. I think Caitlin would appreciate that. So here we go. Here is a higher key shot. So let me get you over here on the screen and kind of show you what you need to be looking for. In this more high key shot, the thing that's still standing out is there's still a little too much shadow right here. So it's not truly high key. What we can do there to fix that is start to bring the light downward some. So we're gonna lower it. It's still on a boom. So I'm shooting underneath it. So here we go. Let's see if we got the shadow right where we want it. And granted, you can use the continuous light.
I mean, that characteristic is
to
very
adjust
fashion.
this. It's still probably, I could probably come down a little bit lower, but it's starting to get there. So these are things that, like, I know that you see, some people will see someone working with, you know, like this big multi-light setup. You know, I have a ton because this is what I do, but you can do great things with just one light.
So about
There you go. And so the shadow is starting to minimize more and more and more. Thanks, Caitlin. So, and once again, some of these adjustments too are me needing to actually maybe move the light over a little bit more just to get that hidden behind the subject. But that's a one light high key shot. You can do that very simply. That's a B10. That's like this little tiny jammer. I mean, look at this light. This
Hey,
thing's
Chris.
rad.
Hey, Chris. So can you tell
I
us
can hear you.
about how far you are from
Kate?
From Kate, and are you standing directly under the light as you shoot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would have seen me, it would have been like this.
Right. Okay. So you're right. But what is
That's
that?
exactly what it would.
About how far were you from her when you were shooting?
What do you think this is, Caitlin? Probably 10, 15 feet?
15.
Yeah, I'm about 15 feet away from where Caitlin was. Or yeah, so the light and myself were about 15 feet away, and Caitlin to the background was not even a foot. She was probably 6-7 inches away from the actual seamless itself. So you want to try to get the subject really close to the background, because that way, when the light is further away, all of this is going to fall off a lot slower. That way, that's why Kate's exposed properly and the background's exposed properly.
Okay. Cool. And
And I did it
also,
with this little tiny guy.
yeah, and there's actually a lot of that, like, kind of hard to look with those deep shadows behind her. There's a lot of people playing with that, and it's kind of back in style right now. So you could pull her off that background just a little bit, and it could be interesting.
It's a really fun look. It's though it's not technically true to high key. Once again, it's one of those things where you learn the rules and then break them. It still has all of that playfulness and kind of fun, like fresh feeling that you would get from a high key look anyway, and you do it with one light.
Yeah, well, it's that variation. Like, here's where you start, and then you,
Totally.
you shift a little bit, right? So, okay.
Totally.
Well, that was fantastic. It was really great to hear you talking through the setup and moving the lights, and people getting to see where the controls were and where the lights were placed, and it's just super helpful to do that, because a lot of times we have these sessions and they're looking at an image, but they don't get to see where the lights were and that kind of thing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think kind of really seeing how people work through things, and you're gonna. I try to keep it as real as I can too. Like, you're gonna see me bumble and stumble around things. I try to be as insanely transparent about things as I can be. So and this is supposed to be fun. You're experimenting. So I think the thing that people just need to remember is, be okay with messing up a lot and just have fun with it.
Yeah, totally. Well, I want to thank you so much, Chris, and for Profoto for having you on during Photofest this week. It's really been a great 45 minutes learning and picking up more tips on how to better light people. So thank you again so much. We will be wrapping up the session today, but we do have 2 more later in the day. We start up another session at 1 o'clock. So be sure to join us at 1 for the session, because it will be on astrophotography, which is a total shift in conversation. But thank you again, Chris, so much. And
thank you guys. Have an awesome day.
Thank you so much, Chris. You have a great day as well. And for those of you guys tuning in, be sure to check your email for the promos that are available throughout Photofest week. And if you did not get an email this morning, that means you haven't registered yet. So go to glazerphotofest.com and register, and then you'll get that email tomorrow. So thank you all. We'll see you back online in just a few minutes at 1 p.m. with a conversation on astrophotography.